Just came out. Oh, of course. Anytime. So it's there.
Policy into order. We have some special guests, so we are actually going to invite the scouts from troop 774. I do not have my memory, is that correct? Yes. Okay, 774. They're actually going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So we're going to ask them to come up to the front, and then either their SPL or whoever would like to.
Come on up. Come on. Yeah.
Audience, please rise. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Yeah, audience, be seated.
Thank you. We appreciate the scouts coming and leading us in the pledge. Our next agenda item is the approval of minutes. This is for the governing board meeting on October 14th, 2025. As presented. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, and just so everybody knows, we have a new system that we're doing our agenda under, and so we're going to take this a little slow and Ms. Fusion, you tell us if we need to pause for a minute. So we have Ms. Anderson, Mr. Buster, and then Ms. Anderson seconds. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. Our next item is staff, student, and community recognitions. Mr. Gert.
We have several this evening, but first up is Mrs. Port, Mesquite Elementary School.
They better pull this off. Our future depends on it. I know Jay will steal the crowd. Just think of what he'll bring. Jafar, this is not what that is about. Put those brains cells together and think about all the things we can steal when we take over the world. I think it's a little dramatic, isn't it? I mean, if Carlos would have listened to me at all, she would be in his door, not interacting with anyone or anything, especially dogs. We're doomed. That game was awesome. Go BKs. I can't believe he won. Thank you. I barely made it, but it was still so fun. I never knew anything like that was possible. Not why we're here. This place is gorgeous. I never imagined a place like this so existed. The colors, the princess, the fashion. I'm so excited. Evie, that's not why we're here. The one, world domination. Hello? You all have to get your priorities straight. Our parents? Your parents are locked and tied to the island. Here at Orna, you could be whatever and whoever you want to be. Each kid choose good and happy. How is that even possible? Because we all have the choice within us between good and evil. I believe in all of you. Do you believe in that?
Yes.
They have a huge decision in front of them, and it'll mean a lot to all of us if you would come to watch their journey. Thursday, March 26, 2026. At the Fox Theater in downtown Tucson. Come watch our epic battle and our choice between good and evil.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you and great job.
Thank you so much.
We look forward to seeing you guys.
Yes, we'll be there.
Yes.
We look forward to the movie preview premiere every year. And Mrs. Port and crew, thank you for being here tonight. And parents, you've got to already be proud of what they've done tonight. So super exciting.
All right. President Pat, members of the board, we are very excited to invite you back to the Fox this year as we are doing Descendants the musical. I hope that you can all make it. There's an RSVP QR code in your invitations. And thank you for allowing us to do a little skit for you. Okay, we got a picture of the whole.
Yes.
Time.
Stand next to the board meeting. You'll make them look so much cuter.
Okay.
Ready?
Oh, Lieutenant.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yay. Okay.
Sentence on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
Thank you all, and you are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you would like, or you can take your children home and maybe hit some ice cream on the way. So thank you for being here. We have a few other staff, student, community recognitions. First up is Miss Peggy Benson Runyon. Miss Runyon?
That's a hard act to follow. I'm just saying. But I'll try. Good evening, President Pratt, members of the board, and Superintendent Crew. I would like to take a moment to share some highlights and thank yous from this year's Make a Difference Day, which, given the many projects taking place from October 18th through November 15th, this year could more accurately be called Make a Difference Month. By mid-November, 30 projects will have been completed across school sites with over 1,000 volunteers serving an estimated 3,000 volunteer hours. Cleaning up and beautifying campuses, laying rock, as well as painting murals and walls throughout the district are just some of the projects completed. The success of this day was made possible through the collaboration of our local faith community, business leaders, site coordinators, district admin, numerous staff, students, families, alumni, and community volunteers. I would like to specifically thank both Alicia Robison with the Rincon Stake and Craig Anderson with the South Stake of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Their help in coordinating numerous volunteers at sites was key to the completion of many projects across the district. Furthermore, thank you to our business partners, Riata, Walmart, and Galaxy Theaters. They too stepped in to help this past weekend, making a difference across our district. I would also like to thank Jeremy Evans for his help in coordinating the community picnic, along with Principal Lainey Kitzmiller and the staff at Esmond Station for hosting this year. It is a huge undertaking, and they all stepped in to make it a wonderful experience for all the volunteers who participated. There is something special that happens during this event, and it is not quantifiable by numbers, nor is it visible in pictures, but it is felt within our community, strengthening the very fibers of its foundation and making our community a little better. Thank you to everyone who helped make a difference this year.
Thank you.
President Pratt, Mr. Cruz, members of the board, I would also just like to recognize Peggy Benson-Brennan for the hours of time and effort that she put into supporting our volunteer coordinators, our principals, just thinking of all those details and ensuring that those 1,000 volunteers were able to serve in our community. She truly lives out our motto each day in her role. So thank you.
It truly was a wonderful day. Thank you, Mrs. Benson-Runyon. Up next is Mr. Graff, followed by Mr. Hurley. And then Mr. Tate. I'm sorry, Mr. Tate.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cruz, President Pratt, members of the board. Last Saturday, we had Sycamore's 18th annual 5K Spooky Run, which is organized by our PTA. We had over 150 runners that descended on the Corona de Tucson area. Now I stayed at the finish line just to make sure that it did not move. But my wonderful assistant principal, Ms. Cashin, she ran the race and represented us well. But truly, it's a terrific event, because it's a great way that our student groups can get involved. So I'd like to recognize the following staff for being there to support the event. Melanie Eastman, Heather Wallace, Logan Boyer, Sarah Jeffries, Natasha Tepper, Michelle Pangle, and Molly Cashin. And a special thank you to Sarah Hecht. She is our Peace Patrol advisor and our NEHS advisor. She had a group of students working a water station, and then Lakasha Peck is our student council advisor. She had another group of students working a water station, and then also one of our 4th grade teachers decided to show up and help out at a water station. And they had a group of kids there, not only passing out the water to the runners, but they were providing encouragement and just brought a lot of positive energy, to the event. So, without their help, it definitely would not have had the flavor that it did. And then right after that, we jumped right into our Make a Difference Day, and we had just terrific projects going on. But one of our main projects was to install 3 benches that were going to run along the Corona Middle School and the Sycamore, that pathway that runs in front of our campus. And this vision all came about from Ricky Gonzalez. He's our crossing guard. And he was talking to a parent one day and said, we need to do something to honor our students, not just our current students, but also our previous, students. And one parent, Mrs. Rich, she just jumped into it, and she really made this happen. If you haven't had a chance to see the pictures, they are just quality benches. But really, it was the sort of the love and the energy that went into putting them together. So you're talking these metal benches with probably about 2 tons of riprap that are filled in these benches. And the kids working side by side, with parents, with community members, just making these benches, making the vision a reality. And then we step back on the campus, and then we have Sarah Hecht again, Lakasha Peck, and Jennifer Lampana with our community service club. They have projects going on in the center of our campus, working with kids. Again, kids, putting some of that sweat equity back into their school and working alongside of staff and also with parents. And that was all organized by our wonderful volunteer coordinator, Sophia, Holton. And she just did such a terrific job. And one other person I'd like to recognize too is Brianna Gonzalez. So she's the daughter of Ricky Gonzalez, our crossing guard, but she's also our librarian. And so she was right out there, helping dad, and also just being a volunteer to her community. And she even had a little daughter out there who's about 4 years old, also, working alongside of her. So, it just made just a terrific difference, not only Sycamore, but to our entire Corona de Tucson, community. And lastly, this week is Red Ribbon Week. So I'd like to recognize Tammy Porter. She's Sycamore's counselor. So she's organized just a ton of events, like fun-filled events, just to help kids show kindness and also just make smart choices. So those are my recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. Graff. Mr. Tate.
Say President Pratt, Superintendent Cruz, members of the board. Wanted to thank everyone who participated in the 9th annual 2025 diaper drive. The diaper drive is definitely an example of the power of community. Want to thank the volunteer coordinators, student service coordinators, principals, assistant principals, staff members, and community members. A couple of the community members, Ken Prinz, Renee and Jonathan Ealer, the young adult class from Pantano Christian Church, were going to each of the schools to help collect the diapers. This was for the 10 days after Labor Day in September. Also this year, Catherine DeMonico and Harold Gaines from the Arizona Diaper Bank helped in many ways. They provided a QR code for financial assistance as well as diapers directly, provide us boxes, pallets, wrapping, picking up the diapers with us, providing the truck from the diaper bank. So we didn't have to rent a truck for that. And then for finding numerous volunteers to sort and count the diapers once we delivered them. All the schools participated as well as community programs. And I want to thank the students and staff at many of the schools for helping when we arrived, and they helped bring the diapers out and have made the stops much quicker. Also want to thank Arby's. 3 years ago, Arby's kind of joined arms with us and started to collect at the register. And over the 3 years they've been doing it, they collected just over $68,000, which is almost 500,000 diapers just from Arby's. Living Branch donated a little over 10,000 diapers. Emmanuel Presbyterian Church was almost 4,000 diapers. Galaxy Theater, of course, Karen, who is everywhere, put up flyers during the movies to promote the diaper drive, allowed the Stugo from Micah Mountain to paint the windows, which last year I said, what does it take to clean these windows? And she goes, only about $600 to clean the windows. So I really appreciate that. And then Creation School, Jennifer Hook also did a diaper drive there at the school as well as funds. So, every year we give out a plaque to 4 schools for various reasons. The first one, most diapers, Sonita Valley Elementary, and of course the volunteer coordinator, Julie Dennis, and principal Chris Wittosh set a new record with 74,381 diapers, which exceeded last year's count. Julie knows how to work the QR code, competitions, and then of course, Mr. Wittosh says if you hit the goal, he'll wear a diaper the day that ice cream is delivered to the schools. So for the 3rd year, Mr. Wittosh wore the diaper, although he said he's going to try and find another incentive for next year. The 3rd grade won with a total of 23,726 diapers. And so they will be going, the 3rd grade will be going to Galaxy Theater in December to see a movie at the theater. And just want to recognize Miles Jovanovich, a 3rd grader, by himself collected over 15,000 diapers. The next award was the highest average per school. Sabano once again won with an average of 83 diapers per student. So they never really have a chance because of the size of the school to win the most diapers, but they were consistent with the most average number of diapers. They'll also be going, and the entire school will be going to the Galaxy Theater before the end of the year. The greatest increase went to Rincon Vista Middle School this year. They saw 1,051% increase. Their Sydney Stickroth, as well as Sarah Taylor, encouraged the students to bring diapers, did more competitions within classes and home base. They also did raffles and prize giveaways. So they collected 25,913 diapers this year. Most creative campaign, Mr. Graff went to Sycamore Elementary. And of course, Sophia Holton, once again, really kind of rallied the schools. She keeps saying, we're going to beat Sonita Valley one of these days. So I'm excited about that. If that happens, that will be a lot of diapers. They collected just over 12,000 diapers. And we'll also be seeing a movie, part of the school will be seeing a movie. And then we decided to add one best high school. And of course, that's Micah Mountain High School. They collected over 20,000 diapers, which is more than the other 4 high schools combined. I think part of that is Mr. Penland coming from Esmond Station. helps motivate that. And of course, it's always a challenge for a high schooler to go into a store and buy a package of diapers and walk out, through the cash register, as everyone wonders, why are they buying diapers? But so thank you very much. And they get, the entire school gets ice cream from Living Branch this Friday. If you want to see quite the show, over 700 kids get ice cream cups in about a 40-minute period of time. It's a madhouse. And then just special recognition, Saguaro Creek, brand new school. Their Be Kind Club collected almost 4,000 diapers. And again, Karen with Galaxy Theater brought them a bag of popcorn, which the kids really appreciated. So this year we collected 241,650 diapers. Over the 8 years of having the diaper drive, the Vail School District community has donated just shy of 1.5 million diapers. And if you add the Arby's and Galaxy efforts, it's 1.8 million diapers. In the Arizona Diaper Bank newsletter, they recently stated, over the past 9 years, the Vail School District community has donated more than 1.4 million diapers and essential hygiene items, making it one of the largest and longest running school-led drives in the nation.
Wow.
Truly a community effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Case. And we all know that it is all possible because of your leadership and efforts on that and creating the space for our community to give back, and perhaps more importantly, to create an opportunity for our children to learn the power of giving back to our community. So thank you for that. Mr. Hurley.
Pratt, members of the board, Mr. Kruth. I'm really late on this one, but I wanted to acknowledge all the work that Aaron Cavazos put in while filling in for Amy Kessel. Amy Kessel and her husband had a milestone anniversary, and Aaron stepped up and said, I can help cover it. Go do the right thing. And so, as you know, Amy has a very, very, very important job of making sure families' first impressions, they're welcome, they're supported, and they're valued. And it's a full-time job. And so Aaron did her full-time job and tried to fill in for that. And I just really, really appreciated her doing those things so that Amy could go and be with her husband and do what was right. So it was great. Thank you for that. I also want to give a huge thank you to Justin Chesborough and the entire Beyond Textbooks team. We asked them to help out the home team. They've done amazing trainings all throughout this side of the country. And we said, boy, we really, really would love to learn and benefit from those things you've been doing. So they've been a part of our classroom walkthroughs. They've been delivering trainings at several of our sites. They have done so without adding staff, without adding hours. They've just enthusiastically stepped up and said, we are excited to help. So I really appreciate all of the work those guys have done. And finally, I just wanted to give a shout out to the Entrada and Pantano staff for their Halloween festivities. I was there with my high school kid, and I was expecting to see great high school things like you would. And if you were to middle school, you would see great middle school things. They really went above and beyond to make it a community event. They changed the entire Pantano basketball court to a space for little kids. I will tell you, it was within shouting distance of the Zombie Hollow. So that was a little concerning for some of the little kids. But it was just amazing to have a place that 5-year-olds were happy and valued and 15-year-olds were happy and valued. And the scariness was scary and the little adorableness was little and adorable. And I know that they purposely had to make a choice to say, how can we make this more than just a high school event? So I wanted to thank them for that. It was truly a great community event. Thank you.
Have a few other district-wide recognitions. Seems that now that we're back from fall break, things are starting to pick up, and this is when a number of statewide awards are being recognized. And so with that, yesterday we learned that the Arizona Technology and Education, their annual conference, the AZTEA Innovation Awards, were handed out. And of the 5 awards, Vail won 2 of them. Carolyn Marvin was the Arizona Technology Coordinator of the Year. Carolyn is the Site Technology Coordinator at Andrada High School. An amazing accomplishment for her. And then Melissa Dwyer was named the Arizona Technology and Education Teacher of the Year. And Melissa is an 8th grade teacher at Esmond Station. So great stuff there. Also, yesterday we learned that Steve Schween was named the Arizona Health and Physical Education Teacher of the Year. Mr. Schween is the strength and conditioning teacher and coach at Cienega High School. And if anybody's ever interacted with Mr. Schween, all I can say is we've tried to run him up the pole a couple times for statewide teacher of the year. He is just fantastic regardless of his content. I'm just excited that he is getting recognized by his peers as well. And then for our students, on our student side of things, today, Micah Mountain High School student Taylor Greenwood won the Division II Girls Golf State Championship. She's a state champ, and she won by 2 strokes. And then this weekend, I think this is the first time ever, the Cienega High School Marching Band won the Southern Arizona region, and they had the highest scores that they've ever had for that competition. They were winning. They won the inaugural Arizona Marching Band Southern Region Championship. The band broke the program's record for highest score for the show, and also brought home caption awards, the highest score in music performance, visual performance, general effect, and percussion. It's huge accomplishments for the Cienega High School marching band. And that's all we have for staff, student, and community recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. We'll move on to our call to the public and acknowledgement of public requests to speak. The first item is call to the public, and these are items not on tonight's agenda. We do have one. And if you are here to speak to the board tonight, if you haven't filled one of these out, which I only have one. So if you're here to speak to the board and you're not wearing a red jacket, you might want to fill one out, and then you can speak to the board. So we have Juliet Osmond and Emma Kelly here to speak about Micah Mountain FCCLA. And as they're coming up, I'll just read the guidance. It says, at this time, the board may consider and discuss comments and concerns from the public. Those wishing to address the governing board on items not on tonight's agenda may do so at this time. Speakers are requested to hold your comments to 3 minutes. In accordance with Arizona open meeting law, board members may not respond, comment, or ask questions of the speakers regarding the issues not on tonight's agenda. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good evening, President Pratt, Superintendent Caruth, and members of the board. I'm Julia Osmond, President of the Micah Mountain chapter of the Family Community Career Leaders of America. And this is Emma Kelly, our secretary. It's our pleasure tonight to relate to you some of the incredible accomplishments of our peers over the last year.
At our most recent state convention in March, our students were privileged to be selected to represent Arizona FCCLA at the national convention over the summer. At that competition, our members submitted projects and presentations for evaluations and earned a 3rd place in the nation and 7th place recognition. In September, our chapter showcased Micah Mountain's incredible CTE programs when we catered the Beyond Textbooks convention.
In FCCLA, we strive to instill confidence, provide leadership opportunities, and promote cooperation and communication within our community through the development of professional skills in our members. We're naturally aligned with the guiding principles of the Vail School District. We extend learning experiences beyond the classroom and model values such as respect, responsibility, and hard work through a variety of activities. We are committed to continual improvement, and we ask that you support us in this endeavor.
Our traditional and highly anticipated pie sales kick off this November, just in time for Thanksgiving. We would greatly appreciate if your participation as members of the governing board. Please spread the word to your family, friends, and business acquaintances. The proceeds from this fundraiser directly support our program and make it possible for our students to compete. We are happy to send you a link to the fundraiser as soon as it gets posted. And you can always look at our social medias.
Thank you so much for your generosity in allowing us to speak in tonight's board meeting. We appreciate your dedication to the students of our community and your unceasing service and support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys coming here. I know it's not easy to do that, so thank you. And we would love to have an email from you guys when you have more information. We will move on to acknowledgement of public requests to speak for items on tonight's agenda. We do not have any requests at this time. So are you filling one out? No, don't be sorry. It's fine. And if I'm gonna wait for her to fill it out, but I think it's probably going to be about the school. Yes, so we're actually I'm gonna move those to be at that agenda item. So I'm not skipping over you, but we will just move that. So at this time, we'll move on to our correspondence and reports. We'll start with our superintendent's report, Mr. Ruth.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. I just want to let you know that today, yesterday, the state board approved the final version for the rating system for Arizona schools. And today those the school labels were released. And we know we learned earlier this morning what our grades are for each of our schools. As have all other schools statewide. We'll know tomorrow, we think, what our ratings are relative to other schools across the state tomorrow. And I'm really happy to report that our district goal is to maintain an average of 3.75 or higher. Last year we had a GPA we have 21 schools that receive school labels. And of those 21 schools last year, we had a 3.77 GPA. And this year across all of those schools, our GPA is 3.81. Last year, we were one of only 2 school districts that had more than 10 schools to have a GPA higher than 3.75. So I think we're all just a little curious to see how we stack up this year. And I just also want to we'll provide more information as it unfolds to the board. I also want to preface my earlier comments with whatever the school label is relative to student performance, it is but one measure of how to measure the quality of our schools, although it is a solid indicator of the academic achievement and performance that's happening across our schools. And further indication that the Vail School District remains among the top performing school districts across the state. That's all we have for superintendent's report.
Thank you. We'll move on to the board report. So this time we can consider or hear from board members if they have a report. Any board members, Ms. Tippett?
Yeah, I just really wanted to thank the broader community for jumping in on Make a Difference Day and really making such a huge impact on our schools. When children see parents showing up to take care of the place that they go to school, when students come to school on Monday and see some changes on their school campus and that the community is responsible for that, that lets them know this is a place that I should take care of. And this is a community that takes care of me. They care about the place that I'm at. And it's just a powerful message to young children. And I just so appreciate the community for pouring in and really making a difference. So thank you.
Very well said. Thank you, Ms. Tippett. Are there any other board members? Ms. Anderson?
Yeah. So in the last 2 weeks, I got to attend the ACE Fall Festival, which is the choral festival. Schools from all over the state come to it. And I got to cheer on Micah Mountain, Empire, and Cienega all performed at that. And then Make a Difference Day, just I think one of the things I really loved is that I was talking to the principal at the school that our family had gone to, and I have teenagers, and all of her and their friends were there, and many of them went to that school in elementary school. And it just was just really cool to see these kids coming back and being on their campus that they grew up on, and just working together to beautify it. I also got to attend Cienega's football game on Friday night. Truth is, we went for the band, but we stayed and they did a post performance afterwards, after the game, and just got to cheer on and see their performance. And then we're so excited to hear how they did on Saturday in their competition. They were so excited about that, and just cheering them on for the next 2 weeks as they compete. I think they call it Bandtober, and my kids aren't in band, but like they have competitions every weekend, and they're coming up on this season to finish that off, and just the momentum and the great work they're doing. And then yesterday, I was able to go to a reality check lunch at the Vic, and so it's one I got to go with Mr. Hurley. in place of Callie this time. I know because she couldn't be there, but I think it was just such a great thing because it was staff from Pantano High School, Savano, and Vail Virtual. And I think my just takeaway is just how grateful I am in our district that we are meeting people where they need, and that the needs are different for every family. As I saw, just these are smaller campuses and smaller, but the needs are there for these schools. And so I am grateful that I got to be there with those staff members and get to know them a little bit more. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Mr. Buster or no?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Let's see, got the opportunity last week to join with the Pima County Superintendent visit over at Esmond Station with President Pratt. Phenomenal opportunity. I know that our Pima County Superintendent just was in awe, jumping around the classroom, participating with all our students, just giving us highest accolades for the programs that we have throughout our school district, but more specifically combining classes, combining individuals so that they come up with an outcome that is of the greatest result for each one of our students. And it was just nice to hear that across the district, he had not seen such great programming and educators in the classroom, and just seeing them ingratiate the students and across the spectrum through the educators was really neat to see. Beyond that, had the opportunity to join President Pratt, Mr. King, Ms. Anderson, and Mr. Caruth at the ASBA countywide meeting. And I'm not going to take any thunder away from Mr. King, but it was just a wonderful opportunity to come together with folks throughout Pima County. And it was really nice to see our board well represented. Ms. Anderson, myself, and Mr. King all got awards from ASBA for boards. What was it called? Board leadership and master boardsmanship. But it was really, we as a team, as a group, we do that hard work of not only getting along, but being lifelong learners and trying to represent this great district and all of our students and our educators by being the examples that we expect them to be. And when we get together and see these accolades that are representative of our district, it's just phenomenal to see. And I'm glad that we are part of this team. Beyond that, we did go to the governing board retreat. I can honestly say that this bunch of people up here are just not only extraordinary board members, they're great community leaders, and they're just great, decent people. So last but certainly not least, had the opportunity to drop by Mr. Graff's event, celebration of Make a Difference Day, and just rave reviews, seeing all the smiles as they clean up the schools and putting in the new benches and having stakehold and building communities and education being the center of that community. That's a beautiful thing to see now, and knowing that the things that they've done for our school and our community will last into perpetuity.
Mr. Buster, any other board reports?
Yeah, listening to everybody else actually reminded me of a few things. So I did attend a trunk or treat event, and that was actually kind of good. I was the Bill from Schoolhouse Rock. So older kids got asked a civics question before they got candy. You know, the younger kids just got candy straight out. So that was actually a lot of fun. And then
younger kids, like 3 and under, like 4 and up, have to know.
So yeah, no, it was like if you're a middle schooler or high schooler, you know, you got asked a civics question. So. And then I also went out to Cells on last Friday to their community event that their school district put on, and I really want to publicly thank the superintendent Ruben Diaz for the invitation to go out there. And there's not, I mean, you can't imagine a more stark contrast between our school district and theirs, yet the community connections are something that are just amazing. He said that they have roughly 500 families and 1,000 students in the school district. And I think at the time that I had to leave to make it back here for something else that night, there were, I think, 400 families there and about 800 students, roughly at that time. So it really was just an amazing thing. And just seeing how they interacted with, people from outside the community as well as their superintendent lives on site. So their superintendent is a site resident. So it was actually something very, very unique to see. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So thanks.
Thank you, Mr. King. A few things have already been mentioned, so I'm not going to repeat them, but I do want to recognize Peggy Benson-Runyon for all of her work. 3,000 volunteer hours in one day is just incredible. Not only that, it's bringing the whole community together. So I know that there was a lot of people working on this, but I do want to recognize her and say thank you for all of her work on Make a Difference Day. I also attended the Pima County ASBA meeting this last week and wanted to recognize Mr. King for his leadership in ASBA and all the work that he does there as our county co-director. Also, Mr. Kruth got a really nice shout out from Jimmy Arwood, who's the new government relations ASBA person. And he just, it was so great. He just talked about how he really was introducing himself to the group, and then he just led with that he wanted to recognize Mr. Kruth. He said that it's been years since Mr. Kruth has worked at the State Board of Education, but he said the difference that you made in the culture there and the processes is just still to this day just night and day difference. So I just want to reiterate that. I just thought it was a very heartfelt and very kind shout out. So thank you for the way you lead in all the areas that you serve in. And then the other thing, and also one last thing. Today, I attended the Red Ribbon event at Esmond Station, organized by Alicia Wall. And it is really an incredible event. They have, if you can imagine, the whole bus bay is lined with every single law enforcement agency you could think of. I have the video that I sent my husband today of this robotic dog that I think it's DPS uses. It can open doors. I mean, it was incredible. There was horses, there was working dogs, there was a dog that took down this person. It was not a student, it was not a volunteer. Anyways, they're doing all these demonstrations. They have the bomb squad there. They have, what is your brother? Yes, your brother was there. And what is he? He's SWAT. Anyway, there was 2 helicopters that landed on the field. I mean, FBI is there. It is an incredible event, both in the way that they're honoring our law enforcement, teaching our kids the opportunities that are out there and teaching them to be respectful and honor our law enforcement, and then just giving them an opportunity to show the public, well, the kids at this school, the amazing things that they can do. It's a really cool event. So lots of thanks to Alicia Wall, who does a lot of work to make that happen. If there's no other board reports, we will move on to the consent agenda. All items listed below are consent matters and will be considered by one motion at this time. There'll be no discussion of consent items. Any board member may remove an item from the consent agenda by request. All items not accepted and approved as part of the consent agenda will be listed individually. Do any board members wish to pull an item? No. Mr. Griff?
Thank you, President Pratt. Members of the board, it's recommended that the Vail School District Governing Board approve all items on the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. I'll accept the motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Seconded.
Mr. King and Mr. Buster. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not seeing any, the motion carries. We will move on to new business. And our first item is transition from high school to real world independence through a vocational education, also in our Thrive program, and form item, Mr. Groot.
Thank you, President Pratt and members of the board. We've spoken about this program previously in other study sessions and those kinds of things. It's a program that Ms. Michelle Wood and her team have been conceptualizing for a number of years, and it is up and running, and it's So I want Mrs. Wood and her team to walk through what it is and how it's doing. Mrs. Wood.
President Pratt, Mr. Cruth, governing board members, good evening. Thank you for having us tonight to provide an update about Thrive. I have with me Kendra Davis, who has been with since the beginning of dreaming of Thrive and planning for Thrive and all of the preparation and now seeing that come to life. And also Sarah Rebeck, who has the privilege of serving as the Thrive teacher. So just kind of as a review, Thrive stands for Transition from High School to Real World Independence Through Vocational Education. This really came about because we have a growing population of students in our district in special education that are staying with us until they are 22. We've recognized that 8 years on a high school campus for a young adult is not always the most productive thing for them, and it's not helping to build the independence like we wanted it to. So we really took a look at how do we make changes? Where can we partner with that we could, have kids leave Vail and go there and see them really grow. We couldn't find that place. We searched high and low all through the city. Kendra spent a lot of her time doing that. And it wasn't quite to the standards that we expect for our students in Vail. So we did what we always do, and we decided to build it ourselves. And we spent several years kind of in the planning stages and just the dreaming stages of what could this look like. In special education, our department why is that we foster student growth and independence because we deeply believe that every student deserves to live a purposeful life and become a valued member of our community. We wanted to see that on the back end. We wanted to see the students leave us in Vail and fulfill this. And that was really the driving force behind creating Thrive. Currently, we opened in July with 7 students and with 3 staff members, Sarah and 2 of our other staff. They get to service these kids and support them. One of the students is in his very last year with us. So we gave their team a big task. Here's a student you have a year to create something for. And another student has 2 years. So we didn't make it easy to start, but we knew that they could do this. We also, across the district, when we look forward, we have about 25 to 30 of these super seniors that are on our high school campuses. So that population is there, and it's a very specific group of kids and specific needs that they have. We started small intentionally. Often when you build a program, you want to start small, you want to do it right, you want to see success. And we also have kind of limited space right now. So those are the factors that we took into consideration as we selected the 7 students to start with.
Thank you, President Pratt, Mr. Cruth, members of the board. We have had the extreme honor of partnering with Sarah and her team as they've walked through the initial months of the Thrive program, and we are learning so much, as our students are as well. And we are taking what we're learning and we're using that to inform our high school instruction. So now the next step for us on the planning side is looking at what are we learning from our experience so far with Thrive? How are our students doing when they enter supported employment type opportunities in our community? And what do we need to better prepare them in our high school setting? So that's informing our instruction by helping us to increase independence because we really want to start fading back prompts so that our students, when they leave the high school campus, they're not quite as dependent on prompts and they're able to be more independent in their decisions. They're learning things like how to wait, 10 minutes in between tasks. What do I do with myself? How do I stay professional in that setting, even if it's a temporary break in my work? And one of my personal favorites is they are beginning to learn some independent problem-solving strategies. These are students who have received a significant amount of appropriate support up to this point in their life, and they are now ready to start working through some of these problems with the support of the staff around them, making sure that they're safe and cared for. But they're learning how to make some of these decisions and solve some of these problems on their own, which is very exciting. Another thing that we are learning is that it's beginning to highlight the need for kind of a dual track in our program where some of our students are very successfully going into the community, and you'll hear a little bit about that in a moment from Sarah, but they're going into the community and they're able to work. They're interviewing for jobs and they're being hired, which is very exciting. Some of our students continue to need significant support, and they may need more of a volunteer track where they're participating in recreational activities, learning how to participate in the community, how to go into restaurants and order their own food, how to ask for help from community members if they find themselves in a position needing help. So we're taking all of these things that we're learning, coming back to the drawing board and reassessing our evaluation tool, and helping that to inform the instruction of our transition teams on the high school campuses.
So far, President Pratt, Mr. Cruz, members of the board, sorry. So far, we've developed some really great community partnerships, and I know it's community effort, and it's community is huge in our program, and we have had great success so far. We have some amazing partners that have really worked alongside us to help our students who are on both tracks learn these amazing independent skills and how to be in the community and how to work in a setting, and how to just be okay in a public place. And the kids are learning, along with the adults, are learning how to react to one another and how to respond to one another, which is kind of cool that you don't really get in a school setting. Most people in a school setting already know how to interact with students, or they should, and community members aren't always sure. And I think sometimes community members are afraid of our students. They just don't know what to say or what to do. And so this really just kind of makes it happen. And it's pretty amazing what happens with that. One of our really strong partners is Four Arrows Garden. Lindsay, who's and her husband have really welcomed us. We work 2 hours every week. All 7 of us go, and they really they involve all of our students in varying degrees of tasks. Some of our students can go by themselves and prune plants or pot up things. Other students who like movement need to water every single plant there, and rake and do some other things. And they've just been amazing for us. And most students really enjoy Four Arrows now. In the 100-degree heat, they weren't so happy, but that's okay. They're learning how to wear a hat, part of uniform, take breaks, use water, find shade, things like that, advocate for themselves that they might need a break. Really good things. We also have a partnership with Tractor Supply. John, the manager there, was the first business I went to was Tractor Supply. And John, the manager there, was like, yeah, when do you want to start Monday? Yeah, sure, we'll start Monday. So, and he was wonderful. He has experience in his family, with a family member with special needs. And so he really took it upon himself to make sure that our students are doing meaningful tasks in their business, not just cleaning or not just kind of throwaway tasks or things that don't matter. He really makes sure that our kids have a purpose and they feel valued and they're a part of Tractor Supply. And we go every Monday for 2 hours and work and do different jobs. We face the store, dusting, finding where everything goes. There's a place, and finding extra boxes, and they can go in the back, and they have a purpose and meaningful time there. And he, just really nice. And the workers, I think at first weren't really on board with us being there. They weren't sure what to do with us. And now they're our old friends. They come up and give high fives and follow us around and help the kids. And we can kind of go, it's just really we come in, they all know our names and we know their names. And it's just really a nice community part to be, where they can learn skills and then take that. One of our students, John, here, his story. So Jonathan, he is in his last year with us. He's going to be 22 in March, and this is it for him. John he doesn't speak very often, and when he does, it's very quiet and not very often at all to any of us. Meaningful employment for him without Thrive would not be possible. Jonathan, I went to Riata Veterinary Clinic, they're just wonderful, and talked to them about having maybe one of our students or several come and do some work for them, and if there were options for what we could do there. And Magica, she said, yeah, can you bring him in for an interview? I'm like, I can, but he might not talk to you. I don't know how an interview would go. She's like, just bring him in, we'll figure it out. And we did. And he said several words to her, which was wonderful. She showed him around. We had a day where he and I went together. She had tasks out for him. We followed her plan and had some tweaks for his schedule, and she offered him a job. So he has a job. The really cool thing about John is his dad was telling me about in the past, he didn't want to get up and go to school anymore. He was kind of done. I mean, 8 years in high school or 7 years in high school, you get bored, you get burnt out. It's the same thing over and over again. And he was kind of done and really without, and his plan for after high school was to stay at home and be at home. There's really not much for our students after high school. There's really not a lot out here for them. So he would just kind of be at home, and that would be horrible. And so now one of the cool things about John is John has never got himself up in the morning and fed himself breakfast and got himself dressed and ready for school ever. And his dad normally gets him ready, and his dad works nights. And so last week was his second day of work, and I told him, you have to wear your Riata shirt again because you're going back to work. He got himself up on his own, got himself ready, got his shirt on, went out to the bus. He left the front door open, I think, and the garage door open because he didn't know how to shut it. So dad was a little freaked out. I said, do you have him? Is he there? But what was really cool, John's never shown that kind of initiative. He's never got himself up ready, but he now has a purpose. He has a job. He's important. He's needed. And it's amazing what just a few hours a week can do for him and his family, and his whole life has now changed. I mean, he worked today, and they fed him so much, which was great. He worked and then he got snacks, but someone like John can't just walk into a business and get a job, and it's just amazing. And he can do so many things. He's incredibly intelligent, and he's incredibly driven, and he can do so many tasks, and he's an incredibly hard worker. And now Tractor Supply and Four Arrows and Riata, I've all seen it. I think Four Arrows is a little mad that they didn't hire him first, but because he's a really hard worker. It's pretty amazing, but it's really cool. So thank you for that, for letting us do Thrive, and my parapros who are just amazing. Thank you for letting us do that, because without Thrive, John would not have this opportunity, and he matters, and it's really awesome. President Pratt, Mr. Cruz, and governing board members, we want to come back to our why, because Jonathan's an example of our why and living that out. He now has that valued role that he will leave Vail with, and he will be that valued member of our community that has a purpose and that's doing something several days a week. Like Sarah said, he probably would have left and maybe done a recreational day program a couple days a week, but now he has a job that he is going to go to, and our community is better for experiencing Jonathan as well. So again, thank you for your support. We're so incredibly proud of this. I think it's better than Kendra and I could have ever imagined, and we know it's going to continue to grow. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. This is an important item. Are there questions or comments? Okay, Jeff.
I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you. When I saw it on the agenda, I was like, yay! I'm like, because I wondered how it was going, and not to get emotional, so I'm not going to, but I have a family member who went to appointment for, with one of her kids, and talked about, I'd already told her about it, but and her son's in high school, and I'm just so grateful, like that you guys saw this need. And I love being able to hear stories, right? Because these are kids, and they're kids, still. And so just thank you. And thank you for sharing with us. And yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you.
Thank you. So any other comments or questions? Let's do it.
I remember when conversations about Thrives started happening, and the desire to point our feet in that direction and bring it about. So it's really exciting to see it going this year, and the opportunities for students that it's creating, and community members, for neighbors that really desire to live meaningful lives. The reality is that it takes a community to make that possible. And I so appreciate our local businesses for finding ways to provide meaningful employment for our community members, our neighbors, that just improve their lives and improve our lives, because we get to be a part of it. So thank you to the businesses who do this, and thank you, Michelle, for kind of leading the vision on this, and for all the staff for continuing to make the little tweaks here and there to make it continue to work, because I'm sure that this is something where decisions kind of have to be made in the moment for based on student needs and opportunities available. So thank you for all of that.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. I just want to say thank you both for your incredible work on this program and for sharing these stories with us in this presentation. I agree with Ms. Anderson. It's been wonderful to get an update. These are programs that are really changing lives, both for students and families. So thank you for your work. Our next agenda item is the High School Transportation Zone Committee. This is a study item. So at this time, there's no recommendation. So my thought is that we're going to, I do have one request to speak. If there's others, if you can fill them out, but I'm gonna ask Mr. Caruth and Ms. Dabney to do the presentation first, which may answer questions. And then after their presentation, before board comments and questions, we'll hear from the public.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. As you mentioned, this is a study item, and I just, Mrs. Dabney's been leading our broad community committee to help push into this issue and try and find a reasonable resolution moving forward. Before she jumps in, I just want to say we held our leadership meeting this morning at Desert Willow Elementary School, and Desert Willow was our third school that we opened. I arrived in 1995. It was the year I arrived here, and I remember the excitement and angst when that first school in Rio Rancho opened, and how that was exciting for that community, but also was a real transition point for what Vail had been as a rural community to one that was sharing the school space now with a suburban community in Rio Ranch. I watched all those homes go up along the back fence of Desert Willow when I was there. And it got me thinking about this process. We have long held the value in Vail of valuing parents and parents' choice. It's in our mission statement. It's what our first guiding principle. As we grow and as we continue to grow, it has always been some tension in how to honor that choice and honor parents and their wishes, and being able to adjust to growth and do that in a reasonable way. And I would love to tell you, over the years, I have been, with the exception of the Desert Willow one, which is already there, I think I've been a part of every boundary adjustment in Vail since that time period. And I would love to tell you that every time we do that, there's a perfect solution. The truth is, there's just not a perfect solution. But we take it really seriously and look at it. We use those values that were created a long time ago as our lens to push into that. And so we know, and Mrs. Dabney will get into more details, we know that the issue of high school choice has been around for a long time, and we know that we want to preserve the ability to have high school choice for parents. And we also know that we are continuing to grow as a community, and how are we reasonably and rationally bringing forth recommendations to balance that enrollment. So just want to lay that out as a kind of some umbrella statements as Mrs. Dabney dives into more of the details around the specifics of the committee. Mrs. Dabney.
Thank you, President Pratt, Mr. Cruz, the members of the board. We know that there is a few enrollment issues that we needed to examine. And to do that, we brought together a really, really great committee. Our committee was made up of site council parents from our high schools and our middle schools, and then also some staff members like our director of transportation, and some of our principals of sites that will most likely be impacted by any recommended proposal or change. And I just want to point out that the committee members, specifically our parent representatives, are also members that live in neighborhoods that are impacted by the recommendations. And so it's very personal to them. Also having been in the district for many years and knowing when and going through those attendance boundary changes or proposals around that,
they're emotional and just acknowledge that. And the committee acknowledged that as well and understood the gravity of the recommendation. And we're very purposeful and mindful in the decisions that were made within the committee. So I just want to make sure that our governing board has that information as well. Really, the purpose of our committee was to focus and help find a solution for the pressure point that we had we have at Micah Mountain High School. The reality is that the transportation zone of Micah Mountain High School is too large, and it's filling the school beyond the school's capacity. And so it's an issue that has resulted in Micah Mountain not being a viable choice during high school choice for families that live outside of the Micah Mountain transportation zone. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's a reality. The committee was really charged with looking at that and seeing what possible solutions could be out there to address that. The other important aspect of what the committee was charged with was maintaining our value of parental choice and ensuring that parents have the ability to make a choice that they feel is the best fit high school for their child. And how can we balance that and balance enrollment and address that Micah Mountain piece? So that was our purpose. So what the committee did is before we even started diving into the actual problem, we developed guiding values as a committee to really help guide and use it as a lens as we make decisions and recommendations. And I feel like the guiding values that the committee developed really do speak to what the goals of the committee were. So the first was being community-minded, that the committee was striving for solutions that are, one, fiscally responsible, fair, and serve the broader good, knowing that there were members on the committee that would be personally impacted by whatever decision was made. And also, like Mr. Cruz said, recognize that no solution is perfect. I believe if there was a perfect solution out there, we'd be doing that already. So there's not a perfect solution, but what can we do to kind of fix the issues that we're seeing? The other reality is that all of our high schools are A schools. They're A-rated by the Arizona Department of Education. They're all A+. They have the A+ School of Excellent designation. We have excellent high schools. So we also wanted to value the schools, our high schools' unique strengths, their excellence, but also recognize that students thrive best where their needs and the school's strengths align. And that's really kind of the heart of parental choice, right? The other guiding value was to be intentional and transparent with communication. There's a lot of background information that goes into how decisions are made and why decisions are made. So how can we be transparent with that communication and clear? The other guiding value that was, I think, really important too is we've gone through this process a couple times. So when Micah Mountain was being built, we had to determine how would we balance Cienega and Micah Mountain in terms of enrollment and what that looks like. And that's where the transportation zone idea came into being. There was a committee that met to do that. There was another committee that met 3 years ago because there were still some issues. And so that committee tried to solve some of those issues. So there's been some historic work that's already been worked on with this issue. So we wanted to be thoughtful of the work that's already been done, but also what other ideas are out there to help solve this. And then the biggest one I think that was really important to our committee was maximizing choice. We really, the goal was to create or strengthen a system that gives parents the best possible choice for their first choice option or their second choice option for high schools. That was really, really important to the committee. So we use these guiding values to look at all potential ideas and all potential solutions to this issue. And we looked at several. So some of the key findings, although the high school choice process is working pretty well right now, because we know that 89% of our families received their first high school choice option. which is a really high percentage. And currently 10% are receiving their second choice option. But we know that Micah Mountain is currently over capacity and that transportation zone was too large. This is the reality. Another reality, and this was a point where the committee had a lot of discussion about, was that the flex zone currently is ineffective, and it's just calling a spade a spade. Families that live in the flex zone really don't have Micah Mountain as a choice unless they have a sibling that attends or some other avenue that way. There's really not a choice. We don't have, because the transportation zone is so large, for the last, out of the last 4 years, for 2 of those years, we've not been able to do a lottery in Micah Mountain. So families in the flex zone haven't really even had a chance to get their name in there to be considered for Micah Mountain. The other reality was that what we've heard through the high school choice process and through families that were on the committee or parent members that live in the flex zone, that there is this feeling of, we have access in theory to 2 high schools with transportation, but we really don't have a priority to either. And so that flex zone idea just didn't come to fruition, I think, with the intent of the committee originally who that idea came from. The other reality that we faced for the first time this last high school choice round was we had 1% of our families receiving their 3rd high school choice option, which we had never had before. That ends up being 16 students. So the 16 students that received their 3rd choice option. And the analogy that the committee used around that was, if you go to a restaurant and you have this, dinner or this item you want to order on the menu, and that's in your mind, and you go to order that item and the server says, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have that available tonight." A little frustrating, a little irritating. Pick something else on the menu. You give that item and the server says, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have that either." Then by the time you get to that 3rd item, you're frustrated, you're mad. And we want to avoid that with our high school choice issue, or with our high school choice process. And so this was the first year, this past year, that we had families in that category. So we want to try and eliminate that as much as we possibly can. So the committee worked really hard on vetting different ideas. They vetted, do we just adjust the transportation zone? We've tried that. We did that 3 years ago, and we're doing this work again. It didn't work last time. The other reality is that flex zone, like I said, there's a feeling that the flex zone doesn't have priority to either large comprehensive high school. So we looked at that. We looked at full high school choice. Do we just do away with transportation zones altogether? That was not a popular idea amongst the committee for a couple reasons. One is the cost associated with it. It would at a minimum require 4 new buses and 4 additional drivers. Just with that piece alone, it's about $1.2 million. The other reality when you have a full high school choice kind of model is it also increases the likelihood that more families are going to get that 3rd choice option. And that was really important to the committee to avoid. So that was not a popular idea. The other idea is, do we do attendance boundaries for the 2 large comprehensive high schools and have a home school assigned if you want a large comprehensive high school option, knowing that we have all of our other high school options available with transportation provided, Andrada, Empire, Bill Academy, the Vic. So as we kind of fleshed out some of those ideas, the committee landed on attendance boundaries, providing or establishing attendance boundaries for the 2 large comprehensive high schools. We used our values that were created to help get to that decision, and also the enrollment data that our committee spent a lot of time analyzing and looking through. So just to give you some kind of an idea, and you're very familiar with this map, this is the current transportation zone broken up by Cienega High School, which is the yellow section. The green section is the flex zone, which is Rita Ranch. And then the blue section is Micah Mountain's transportation zone. It includes the Houghton Corridor, It looks big, but there's a huge area in that doesn't have any homes or potential homes growth in the future. But it's the Houghton corridor and the I-10 corridor, I-10 in Wilmot, I-10 in Cole. Okay, that's the current. The proposed neighborhood assignments based on the committee's recommendation looks like this. So the yellow is Cienega. The blue there is Micah Mountain. So what this proposal changes is that Rita Ranch would no longer be a flex zone. They would have an assigned school of Cienega, and it changes the I-10 in Wilmot, I-10 in Colton neighborhoods to Cienega. The rest of the neighborhoods that were Micah Mountain under the transportation zone remains the same. Okay, that's what that looks like. So how did the committee get to that? Well, we actually had breakouts or little placards of each neighborhood and how many students were in that neighborhood, how many current high school students are in that neighborhood, how many 8th graders are in that neighborhood, 7th graders, and 6th graders. We actually broke Rita Ranch into 4 sections. So the committee, as they were grappling with what type of attendance boundary to build, there was an option to place different parts of Rita Ranch in different attendance boundaries. But we have done attendance boundaries in Vail many times throughout our history. And we do have some kind of norms that have guided those decisions. One of the norms is to create the least disruptive option that gets the desired impact or the needed outcome as possible. One of the other norms is to work hard to keep cohorts of students together. So if we have students that all go to middle school together, doing our best to try and keep those cohorts together. We know in the high school choice process, one of factors that's really important to kids is I want to go to the same high school that my friends go to. Now that's not always the best right reason, but kids think that way. And so we try to keep those cohorts together as much as possible. And then thirdly, to consider more established neighborhoods over newer neighborhoods or future areas of growth. So those are those kind of tried and true norms that we've used as we've developed attendance boundaries in Vail. So the committee used those norms, the guiding values that were created to try and create an attendance boundary that maximizes choice and balances enrollment amongst our 2 large comprehensive high schools. There was several groups, each group created their mock attendance boundary, and it was pretty amazing to see that they were very, very similar. And after discussion, came to consensus really easily on what that would look like, what that recommendation would be. We also had a kind of a scorecard we used that where each group's idea was scored based on those norms, based on our values, and tried to find a solution that had the highest score with those things, with those items. So that's what it looked like. So what does this actually mean when we are talking numbers with kids? So in this graph, we have Cienega High School, Micah Mountain High School. We have what the current 9th grade class is. So at Cienega, it's 459. And Micah Mountain, it's 366. We have the efficiency capacity. That's the number when the school is operating at peak. And this is the freshman class. But that's the number that when schools are operating at peak efficiency. So classrooms are full, every classroom's in use. The analogy or the phrase that we use, it's like Thanksgiving full. So the efficiency capacity for the freshman class at Cienega is 525, and at Micah it's 337. So you can see with Micah Mountain, we're way over that Thanksgiving full already. That's the crux of this issue here. When we take into account the changes that are being proposed with the attendance boundary and the students that are coming out of those neighborhoods, knowing that we have about 40% of our freshman class choose one of our other high schools. They choose Empire, Andrada, Bell Academy, or Vic. We know that 40% of our total freshman class
chooses those other options. So taking that 40% out, what do those numbers look like? So our projected 9th grade class, we're projecting about 476 at Cienega. And at Micah Mountain, we're projecting about 216. So what that does, because Micah Mountain can go to comfortably, their efficiency capacity is 337. They're pretty happy sitting at 330. That opens up about 120 spaces available for families that don't live within the Micah Mountain attendance boundary to actually have Micah as a choice. Now, there wouldn't be transportation offered if after a year grandfather period, but it would actually be a choice. Whereas right now, the flex zone families, it's not even a choice. It's not even something that's viable. Now we know that some of that 120 students is going to go to siblings because the law and our policy gives siblings priority. So if a family lives in, let's say, Desert Stone, one of the neighborhoods that's currently Micah Mountain Transportation Zone, but is being recommended to move to Cienega attendance boundary. If a Desert Stone sibling is a sophomore and there is a Desert in the siblings an 8th grader, that student would be able to also attend Micah Mountain. So we know there's going to be some spots that are taken up with siblings. We are also looking at putting some guardrails and caps around staff children and what that priority looks like. The committee is still working through that process, but that will also leave potential. We're estimating between 50 and 100 seats available for families that live outside of Micah Mountain to be able to go to Micah Mountain. Now, if that interest exceeds what the space allows, then it would be like a lottery system. But the last 2 years, we haven't been able to do a lottery at Micah. So it provides an opportunity. So that's what the numbers break down to. Our choice process will look very similar as it has in the past. We will have our high school choice portal. We will have that portal designed if the board moves forward with a proposal such as this, so that there is very clear delineation that if you live in the Cienega High School attendance boundary, these are your 3, you can choose your top 3 choices. If you're interested in attending Micah Mountain and there's space available, indicate it here, and we will work through that process. If that, again, that interest exceeds space, a lottery would follow our normal lottery process. We've done lotteries for years in our high school choice process, so we would follow that. And then our timeline would look very similar to how it has in the past. So that's the committee's proposal and recommendation and why we got there and how we got there. Again, I'd just like to reiterate just the very thoughtful work that the committee put into this. It impacts them personally. And we know that there's not a perfect solution, and we know this is hard. And there's an emotional response to it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dabney. I think we'll just leave it there for now for the conclusion of our background. And there's a call to the public on that. I'm happy to respond to any questions after that from the board.
So we'll, at this time, we'll give the microphone to Rebecca Bannon. Yes. Okay. And we respectfully ask you to just keep your comments to 3 minutes. Sure.
Hi. First of all, I want to say thank you to the board and to Superintendent Kruth for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Rebecca Fannin. I currently have a sophomore and a junior in Micah Mountain, and I reside in the Sycamore Park neighborhood. Now I am here speaking on our family's behalf, but if our community Facebook page is any indication, I believe that some of my concerns are echoed within our community. I want to start by saying that this is not an issue for us personally of wanting to go to Micah over Cienega or Cienega over Micah. I am incredibly proud of all of the high schools in our district, and I'm very proud to be a part of Vail. One of the biggest problems or concerns that I have is we talk about parent choice. And while I appreciate the opportunity to choose what school my child goes to, access to transportation feels a lot like access to choice. And by removing access to transportation to the Sycamore Park community and other communities, it feels like we're having our choice removed as well. Alongside with that, I kind of feel a sense of deja vu. So our community went through this 6 years ago when we were told that we were going to be changed out, and instead of Cienega, our students would now move to Micah. And we had a sophomore and a junior in Cienega at that time. So the concern I have is my junior will be taken care of. He'll be able to continue as a senior. He'll be able to have transportation. My sophomore will not. Last time this happened, we figured out a way with our family and friends to make sure that she could be transported every day back and forth to school and to after school activities. But here we are again, only 6 short years later. And my concern becomes, we did everything we could to make sure that our students could continue at that high school. This is a time during high school when our children are going through a lot, social, emotional, and asking them to change in the middle is difficult. Anytime we make this change, there's the potential that our students are going to have to face this. So I guess my big question in this situation is, if we do this again so soon, what kind of assurances do we have that this time it's going to work well for us? What is the difference this time between 6 years ago when we went through this? That's it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Hannon. So this actually is on the agenda. So at this time we can answer questions. So we can follow up also with emails. Do you have any comments at this point, Mr. Cook?
Not at this time, other than to say, one, I hear you, we hear you, and either Mrs. Dabney or I will contact you directly and follow up specifically. And just to reiterate that we're looking at transportation and having at least 1 year grandfather transportation and just acknowledging I think I've had the opportunity to participate in the committee as well, and several members of the committee, one are in the impacted zone, and 2 have been on 2 committees to try and solve this, and they're really zeroed in, they're as parents, and they're really zeroed in on water solutions that are going to be something that's reasonable at a reasonable length of time. That's assurance. I can say, having done boundaries in our community for a long period of time, once we get out past 5 or 7 years, the crystal ball just gets a little murky because it depends on where growth trends happen across the school district. But we're really looking at trying to do something that is a longer term solution.
I appreciate you coming tonight and not only voicing concerns for your own family, but also, like you said, representing other families. And the exact concerns that you're bringing up are things that we have talked about. We studied this item as well in our study session right before the board meeting, and those are all concerns that we've been thinking about. So thank you for coming. And we will, Mr. Cruz or Ms. Dabney, myself, somebody will follow up with you as well. Thank you. Are there board, I know that we studied this in the study session, but are there any other comments, questions from board members? Mr. Buster.
I hope you forgive my naivete, but I'm hearing that we had an evaluation, or we had this committee come together 6 years ago, 3 years ago, this year. Is it a reasonable expectation that we're looking at 3 years before this committee comes together again? Or are we looking at doing this maybe next year to develop some lessons learned and see the growth spurts and what direction they're going in, so that we can incorporate it maybe the following year and make it better and evolve each and every year?
Thank you, Mr. Buster. And just put some kind of context around that. The 6 years ago was when a group of community members were looking at how to create some kind of balance to open Micah Mountain High School. So it was when Micah Mountain High School opened. That group did their best at that time and tried something novel with a transportation zone, use a transportation zone, and something novel to create a flex zone as a part of that process. And that was the recommendation. 3 years ago, we were starting to see that, again, I don't want to lose the sight of, we have historically had between 89 and 92% of families receive their first choice. So I don't want to lose sight of that, but we were recognizing we're starting to, in essence, the flex zone was not an opportunity, that it was frankly being advertised, or that it was conceptualized to be. And so the group came together. We also knew that we were going to see a new significant growth in the Rocky K area of our school district along Old Spanish Trail, roughly 4,000 to 5,000 homes in its current phase. And so we needed to do something about that. We got together, and I will simply say this. I think those people who participated in that committee last time wish that they'd taken it one step further this time and done this. I think the kind of the easier piece was to rule out the Rock and K folks who are going to Cienega, and you probably should have taken one more step forward. So if I were the rear view mirror test, I think that would be the rear view mirror test on that decision. Where we are currently with this decision, to be plain, it's small enough. Two things about the recommendations being considered. One, all of the area that is contained in what would become the Mica Mountain boundary are currently developed homes. And sort of turn that over, there are no new planned developments in the boundary with which that area that would exist within that area. So we're not expecting new growth in that area. The pressure that we have, frankly, along the Houghton or the I-10 corridor, the Wilmot-Pole I-10 corridors, we have new growth that's happening in that area currently. And so that to be able to continue to absorb new growth in an area that was already overcrowded, that was a pressure point. So I think to be able to say that the area is an established neighborhood where unless there is state land within that area that's considered for sale, which that's going to be a long way down the road, we're not anticipating new growth. So the numbers that are there are likely to stay pretty stable. So I think there's confidence in that. What I would say also is that someday, some superintendent and some board is going to have to make some decisions once state land is sold along the Houghton corridor about how to expand that. And someday probably many of us on this board will have to make a decision about when to add space at Mica Mountain for future growth. I mean, we're probably in a window of somewhere between 4 and 7 years of needing to add additional space if current growth continues. So we'll need to look at what additional space seats at Mica Mountain, and when we do that, how might we look at expanding some areas of growth around that school. I don't, it's way too early to decide where that might come from or what those decisions are, but that would be again, in a window 4 to 7 years out. I think 4 years is probably on the early side of that. And question hasn't been raised, but it's been raised to us in emails and some other things, is when is space going to be made available again? When are we going to add the high school space? So I'll just continue to pull on that for a second. Two things. One, we can't build new space until we qualify for new space by a square footage, by number of students that we have in high school relative to the square footage that we have. We received some assistance through the state, through the school facility board to help build that space. We're not there yet. The early window probably be somewhere in that 4 to 7 year window where we are currently. The way that the state is currently funding that space, there's no way that we can build that space without local supplemental funds that would need to be drawn through a bond. So the community would need to agree to raise bond funds to help build that space. So those two things would need to intersect in the future. We're not there yet.
What can you tell us about open enrollment students in the 8th grade choice process and their availability, not just at Mica Mountain, but Vail schools in general?
Yeah.
Particularly at that 8th grade level moving into 9th grade.
Thank you, President Pratt. Mrs. Tippett, just so I'm clarifying, when you're saying open enrollment, you're talking out of district open enrollment or in district open enrollment?
Out of district open enrollment, yeah.
Out of district. So our current numbers for out of district open enrollment across the school district is about 8% of our student population. And to put that in contrast, Tanque Verde and Catalina Foothills, two high performing school districts like Vail, their out of district open enrollment is in the high 40s, low 50s. We don't do that. We open enroll students where we have some capacity to do that, to help with the efficiency of the running at those schools. Frankly, having schools run at an efficiency level provides programming for students and families who live in the school district. That's how we approach that. And the flip of that is we know that we pride ourselves on school choice in the Vail School District and having choice options for parents. We also know that there's choices beyond the Vail School District for parents to choose. And we probably have somewhere between 8 and 12% of families who live in Vail who have children, school-age children, who are choosing something other than the Vail School District. So it's kind of what we view it as, it's a bit of a wash. I think if we were to look at percentages, somewhere between the 8 and 12% number across the school district would be roughly where we want to be. For our highly desirable schools, Micah Mountain being one of them, we don't allow out of district open enrollment that we know of. I will say, though, two things. One, we can only go on the information that parents provide us, if we know information, well, let me turn this over. Parents overwhelmingly do the right thing and are trying to do good things for their kids. So I want to make that as a statement. But if there's something that smells funny, we investigate. The other thing is, it is by law, we have, if you are at a school and you leave our school district and move to, Houghton and Speedway, you have a right to stay in the school where you are. That's open enrollment law in Arizona now. So we have a number of families where that's the situation currently. They were here with us and they've moved and they want their children to continue. So even in our highly desirable schools, like a Micah Mountain, there's a handful of kids that are in that capacity. At a school like Cienega, we were looking at the numbers just today and affirming them. We have about 75 students who are out of district open enrollment freshmen in that class. We advertised and wanted them to come because that helps with programming and provides additional sections of elective courses and all kinds of things by the capacity. And so we filled to that amount at that school. So we'll, until we get to a place across the school district with high school space, it's highly likely that some of our high schools will continue to accept some open enrollment. But at a school like, frankly, Empire and Micah Mountain, it would be extremely rare unless it's an upper grade level where there's space.
But in that 8th grade school choice process.
If you live, thank you for the clarification. If you are a current 8th grader and you are an open enrollment student, out of district open enrollment student, you get basically put into a different bucket and told, thank you, indicate your choices, but you're waiting until we sort out everybody else. And in fact, we let those families know right up front, they may not know until the 1st of June. Is that accurate, Mr. Hurley? Yeah, so they don't know right away. They're put into I would say a third bucket, so to speak, of families. They don't get any priority over in-district families. In-district families get sorted first, get their choices sorted first, and then we say, where is their space available? And if we can accommodate their choice, we accommodate their choice. If we can't accommodate their choice, we say we can't do that. You can choose these 2 schools, and that's what they can choose from.
So to summarize, no out of district 8th grader is going to be in the same lane as in-district students as they're making their choices.
That's correct.
Are there any other comments or questions?
I just had one more. I really like the way that you were summarizing that, and so I was listening to that. Sorry if it comes back to me.
Yeah, if it comes back, just tell me. I think this is such an important issue. I appreciate everyone who served on the committee. We had one committee member come and speak to us during our board study session. And just hearing all the factors that they weighed in on and that they took into consideration, I thought was so thoughtful. I love how I don't love it, but it's a reality that there is no perfect solution here. This is a very difficult problem. And I think what's hard is that it isn't choice for most families, especially if you're in the Reeder Ranch area. And so trying to make adjustments so that it truly is a choice for, or is an option for families to choose from. The flip side of that is that we have families that we want kids to be connected. We want them to be fully integrated in the programs in their school with the teachers at their school. And I love that you said that's essentially no shade on other high schools. It's the fact that whatever school it is, we hope that you are putting down roots and that you guys are fully engaged and invested in those sites. And so I mean, I have a high schooler right now. I think it would be highly disruptive if he needed to switch schools. He's not at Micah Mountain. I just have to say that too. But so we understand that. So trying to make some really difficult decisions that we know impact families and students. So thank you for your patience as we study this item, and thank you for coming and speaking to the board.
Yeah, I'll just wrap up. We're still listening. I mean, and people have been emailing, and we're trying to respond to those that are emailing us. We communicated this to current eighth grade families yesterday, and based on some of the feedback that we received from those emails and other things, we created a frequently asked questions document. We want to try and be clear with what we're presenting and why. Ideally, we wouldn't have to do this. I mean, we didn't march into this process with excitement. We marched in because we knew we needed to try and fix something that needed to be adjusted. And we were also incredibly mindful that the decisions that we made, that we tasked the committee with helping us decide. Because we're operating at a pretty high level already, we could push into decisions that would make it worse, not better. So we were really mindful of that, and the committee's mindful of that, trying to look at all of those issues. And to the best of the ability of that committee, I think I can say they've done that. The other thing I want to say, and I've people asked me and Mrs. Dabney in comments, who was on the committee and how did that happen? I mean, we got psych council parents represented from all of our middle schools that were there. At least 2 were invited. And there were parents in that room on that committee who are directly impacted by the decision that committee brought forward. And after analyzing the information and really turning it over and studying it, were unanimous in what they're bringing forward, understanding that the decision would impact their family. And I think that's a credit to the work that Mrs. Dabney led us through with creating the values first and trying to look at what solutions are. It's not perfect, and again, perfection is not obtainable. It's really trying to do the best with what we have. And to your point, but really hear that is how do we provide something that we can reasonably say is stable for as long as possible.
I did have one other question. I know that this has been communicated to current 8th grade families. Have we communicated this to current Micah Mountain families, just because they are impacted for transportation?
We have not, well, only eighth grade. We will certainly do that. And to the point, yeah, right now we're considering 1 year of grandfather transportation. Most families that will get them through their into their sophomore year and into their junior year. So, but yes, we will certainly do that.
I think that would be good just to communicate it, so families have that information. Hey, any other comments or questions? No. Thank you. Our next agenda item is the M&O override report, also an inform item.
Thank you, President Pratt and members of the board. Sorry, I'm still adjusting to the new format of online. I feel like I went from a car that had crank windows to one that has electric windows. So let me get to that. Mrs. Lenhart is going to walk us through some annual reports over the next two agenda items. The first is the maintenance and operations override, budget override. And these are here, we're required to do them annually. I will simply state that it's important to do them annually because it's a report back to our community and publicly about how that funding is created. For the maintenance and operation override, this is an item that our community is required to vote on once every 5 years to continue the funding. And since the mid-90s, our community has supported some level of additional funding in the form of a maintenance and operation override. The funds that are used, that are created from that, provide additional programming and for children, for families, or for the children that we serve. Mrs. Lenhart will go through how many teachers that requires to support that and what that's for. So, Mrs. Lenhart.
President Pratt, Mr. Kruth, members of the board. Mr. Kruth, thank you for that introduction to what this override is about. But on November 2nd, 2021, the community voted for a 12.5% override for Bell School District. And with that, and Jerry's going to bring up just a kind of a little report that should, I don't know how well you can see it, just on how we're spending the funds. And when we did the override, we were very specific about what the funds would be used for. And as we present tonight, each of those different categories are staying within what we had said we were going to do. This year, as we're projecting for 25-26, we're projecting that the override funds will be used to cover about 173 positions, teaching positions, I'll say. These positions, as we start, are the art, music, and PE. They are for our gifted and advanced math programs. They're also for programs that support the emotional, social well-being of our student and our student achievement teachers also are in that group. What we needed to present tonight is just on what we've spent for last fiscal year, which was 24-25. As you can see in this box, I just have each of the different categories just as we presented them when we presented this override to the voters. And so the continuation of programs that has successfully increased student achievement. Last year we spent about 5.8 million. This year we'll spend about 5.7 million. Very, very similar. Our budget for last year and this year are very similar because we not seeing a very large difference in our enrollment and our funding for students not changing significantly. And that's why we're seeing that these budgets are very close from 1 year to the next. The next area was just a restrictive class size. We just were using some of the positions to maintain class sizes. We also have, like I said, our gifted and our advanced math programs. We spent about 1.5 million. We're keeping that pretty steady. Art, music, and PE. We're seeing a little bit of an increase from last year, the 3.9 million to about 4.2, just because we had the addition of Sorrel Creek this year for 25-26. And so we see a little bit of a change there. And then we originally did the override. There was a 2.5% pay increase for teachers and non-administrative staff. And that's just was a one-time, but we had to maintain that expense through these funds. That is very straightforward of what we use the override for. We are in the 4th year like Mr. Cruz said, usually you go 5 years and then you go out for, would go out for a renewal. So if that's something we're gonna consider, that would be something we would need to decide on this year. So that we make sure we have it on the ballot for next November.
Thank you, Ms. Lenhart. I also just want to add, well, there's a 5-year window on that, so the community has, so it's not something that happens in perpetuity. There's a time frame on how long that is, that it's in place, and they have to renew it. The other thing I want to say, the language is sometimes a little bit challenging. School budgets, in particular, the maintenance and operation portion of the school budget, which is primarily people, primarily supports people. The maintenance and operation budget is derived by formula from the state on the number of students that are enrolled, and that is a base amount. And school districts, I mean, we do this every spring, and work with you to come up with that budget. We say these are the number, our estimated number of students that we'll have. By formula, we can spend up to that amount. We cannot overspend that amount. That's the hard cap. We can't spend over that amount. What the voters, there's a provision in Arizona law that allows local school districts to go above that amount, and provide additional programming and resources for children in that community if they vote to do so. And we can, communities can go up to an amount of 15% above that base amount. We have been operating at a 12.5% amount now. I think we're approaching 15 years with that amount. As Mrs. Lenhart said, those go to we have to communicate to the voters what those things go towards, and then we can only spend the funding in those areas, and that's what that does. So, as Mrs. Lenhart said, I just want to emphasize that we're in our 4th year to continue this funding, and if we want to continue to do that, we would need voter approval again in November 26th to do that. So, that's all we have at this time. It's an inform item. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Mr. Vitt.
I just want to say just thank you to the community for providing this additional level of support to our schools and ultimately to serving our students and the children of our community. Most highly performing school districts operate on an override of some form or fashion. And just want to reiterate that this funding is beneficial and makes an impact on student outcomes in so many different ways. And so just a broad thank you to the community there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Vitt. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Buster.
As a district, we've been very accountable with these taxpayer funds. Could you give us more information on how we've been responsible for this taxpayer money, the positive outcomes that we've seen across the spectrum?
So thank you, Mrs. Pratt and Mr. Buster. The first one is what you see on the screen, which is we're accountable. We said we were these are the things we were going to do with the funds, and we're reporting to the community we're doing them. And in these categories, I think without these funds, we would have 173 fewer teachers to provide programming across things like art, music, PE, gifted, some counseling positions, and some others across the district. And that would significantly reduce opportunities in programming, things that we talked about today, like kids coming and talking to us about drama or marching band winning awards. We have invested in gifted ed in a way that we have seen students exceed their sometimes there's a notion that young people's potential is fixed. It is not fixed. And so when they're presented with opportunities to be enriched and grow, they in fact do that. And we have seen demonstration of that in students' scores and evidence of that in things like the cognitive abilities test and things like the ACT test. So all of those things would be, we would have reduced opportunities to meet children in those places across those programs if these funds weren't available. And so that, I mean, fundamentally, that's how we've been accountable to them. As Mrs. Tippett said, I'm not aware of any high-performing district that isn't operating with additional support from their local taxpayers in the form of some version of an override.
So funds are these specific funds are directly linked to student success.
I would argue yes.
Excellent, thank you.
And I think we can point to evidence of that in multiple places.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No. I know that I'm assuming you're staying up here for the next one. So our next agenda item is our bond report. This is a great one, Mr. Ruth.
Thank you, President Pratt, and members of the board. While the M&O override fundamentally talks about people as providing additional support for people, bonds, on the other hand, provide stuff and buildings. And it's also a report that we must provide annually to our community. Take this very seriously as well. Just got done talking about Micah Mountain. Micah Mountain would not exist if we did not have bond funds available. The community did improve bond funds to make that happen. The last bond that was approved was in 2018. Building new space was a large part of that, both Micah Mountain, expanding Andrada, adding space at Vail Academy and High School, and building Squirrel Creek as examples. We are nearing the end of those funds, and Mrs. Lenhart will walk through kind of where we are currently and make a report on that.
President Pat, Mr. Cruz, members of the board. This report here is just by category. When it was the bond was presented to the community and the ballot, we had to identify the categories that we were going to be focusing on for our projects. And so there was technology improvements, there was new school construction expansion, health and renovation, and repairs. We had some people transportation vehicles. And from the administrative side, we had a mechanic shop area and some bond fees that we had to pay for. So that's what this little report shows. If we go to the next one, because I just wanted to show you by category where we're at with the budget. It was a little about $61.6 million collectively that we had asked the voters to support. And so that was just showing you kind of where that was at in the different categories. This report is very more specific as to the projects that we actually had. This was over a 6-year period. Like Mr. Cruz said, we had 2 schools. We had Micah Mountain and we had Squirrel Creek that were built because of the bond funds. And those were also supported with school facilities board funds, and the Squirrel Creek one, me and Mr. Wood will present in just a moment. But we're also able to do expansions at Andrada, Bell Academy, Bell Inclusive Preschool. We did some renovations, some pretty major renovations at Old Bell Middle School, did a whole new library over there. We did a small renovation at Desert Sky. We did a fiber network across the entire district. That was one of the really big projects that we had. We purchased about 30 school buses. Some of these funds, built a mechanic shop, which greatly needed here for the number of buses that we have for the school district. We also did major repairs on some fire panels. We did some carpeting and flooring across the district, did some repairs on some of the fields. So with these funds, again, very accountable. I have this major spreadsheet where I track all of the expenditures and what we're doing. One of the last things, our last bond was April 2024. That was supposed to be focused solely for Squirrel Creek.
Bond sales.
Bond sales.
Yeah.
Yep, the bond sales. So this 61.6 million was done over 3 bond sales. This last one, which was a little over $8 million, was specifically for Saguaro Creek. So when we had talked about had the committee meeting about what we were going to use the bond fund for and real bond funds for, and the areas that we needed to focus on, we knew back in 2000 would have been 17. We were looking for a new high school, and then we knew we were going to have some growth into the future. And that's really what you're doing when you're looking at bonds to that length of time. And so we really saved the last portion of the bond sale for Saguaro Creek. One of the things that we're going to talk about in just a moment is the School Facilities Board with Saguaro Creek provided funding, and we were able to maximize all of the funding from them, which freed up a little bit of bond funds for us. So the last sale wasn't solely on Saguaro Creek. We have about 1.2 million, which is going to be opened up. And Mr. Wood is working with several schools, and we're going to be looking at doing some field repairs, some parking lots, some roofs, some flooring at some of our schools. And so it's really given us an opportunity to maximize all of our bond funds. And we'll do that between now and next fiscal year. We'll have that completely spent. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Nope. No. Thank you so much for going through this. I know that we talked about it in the study session, but thank you for all your work on this. Appreciate you. If there's no other comments or questions from the board, we will move on to our last item under new business, project summary of budget and expenses for Saguaro Creek K-8 school. Also before my Mr. Creek.
Thank you, President Pratt, members of the board. I asked Ms. Lenhart and Mr. Woods to just speak to this item. It's not necessary, but about 18 months ago, we came to the board with a budget for Saguaro Creek. And as you remember, we needed to cobble together some funds. It wasn't, we had to bridge some things to get between the bond funds that we had and school facility board funding that we had. And then we had to commit some district funds to make that go. And through just the incredible, frankly, leadership of these two and project management, the project came in on time and under budget, and we were able to return some of those funds. And I just want you to see where those things, I want the community to see where those things are and just some of the fiscal responsibility that led to that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Wood and Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Caruth, President Pratt, members of the board. It seems kind of funny, we're talking about trying to wrap up Saguaro Creek, and we've been open for, a few months, since middle of June when we're opening doors and moving furniture in and inviting families in. And I would like to say for the whole team, probably our first most complete school that we've built from ground up and opened it with pretty much the finished product. So very proud of Saguaro Creek and everything that happened there. If I can rewind about 2.5 years, we were having conversations about, one, where's the land going to be located in Rocking K? Who's going to pay for it? Is it going to be donated, or is the state going to come through and pay for the land? Which they did. And so we were able to work with them, and they did purchase the land for us. And then it was, we have some bond dollars, but we do need the school facilities board to help build the school. How do we get them to do that? We were probably the first school district to partner with the school facilities board and utilize different project dollars across more than one campus. And in this situation for Saguaro Creek, we didn't use just one project. We used 3 different project numbers with the school facilities board to build a school facility. So typically they give you one project and you have X amount of dollars to build that school. In this situation, we had part of an elementary school left in their budget, one full elementary school, and then we had one full middle school. So we were creative and worked really hard with them to come up with an idea and a plan to fund the entire project with our bond dollars. So we used the partial elementary school, the rest of the new elementary school, and then a partial of the middle school dollars from the school facilities board to build Saguaro Creek in conjunction with our bond dollars. But then we hired an architect, we hired a contractor, and they both came on board and gave us the GMP, the guaranteed maximum price that they felt it would be to build this school. And came back to you and said, well, we have our SFB dollars, we have our bond dollars. We need to be creative and have food service dollars and some additional capital dollars to help finish the project off. After going through all of those things, and part of my job is to hold the contractor and the architect responsible for things that we asked for and the way we wanted it. And if it didn't happen, then they would have to help us with that part of the project and with some of those costs. After going through that entire project, and with the help of Ms. Carroll, Ms. Linhart, I apologize. She did a phenomenal job of helping me and the contracting team, the project management with Concord, to be creative and work with the school facilities board on how to use their dollars in conjunction with food service dollars, our own capital dollars, adjacent way dollars, and the bond dollars. And I'll let her, Mr. Kruth has told you, but I'll let her kind of go through how we have come today, not only on time with the project, but well under budget and being able to get money back. So.
One of the things I did is I worked with Jerry, is working with school facilities board, is they built contingencies within the project budget, and they also allocated a certain amount for equipment, furniture, pictures, and equipment. And when we were wrapping up the construction, I just presented to the school facilities board if we could utilize all the contingency and put it into construction, and the amount of funds that we didn't need for furniture and equipment, and wrap that into construction. And so I met with Ms. Grobold, talked about what her needs were for furniture and equipment after we made major purchases already. We came into an agreement as to what she would need. She needed about $250,000 more. And we took that, they set that aside, and everything else they focused that into construction. And when they did that, it allowed us to release some of the money from our bonds and put those expenditures into the school facilities board fund. So they were willing to work with us. They could have told us no, we could have, had to utilize the rest of our bond monies, but they were a great team to work with. Easy to get on the phone with, call, and submit our paperwork to get those changes.
So after all that is said and done, we were able to when we came to you and we talked about, we needed to look at district capital dollars or other district bond dollars, those types of things. Because of the teamwork that happened here, we were able to replenish those dollars back to the district and use more of the state dollars. So now, like Ms. Linhart said in her previous agenda item, we have some money to go ahead and help other schools in our district that need roofing issues, that have roofing issues that need to be taken care of, or field issues, or parking lots, just site safety items that can now be taken care of because of the teamwork that happened here. So, thank you.
Comments or questions? I know. Sure. You guys go first, Ms. Tippett.
So what I'm hearing is that the two of you meticulously found every avenue to welcome the school facilities board into being the most part of this project that they could possibly be, and utilizing that funding in the most maximized way. And so I think that takes just a lot of attention to detail and a lot of understanding the new construction process. And so I just credit you both with being very meticulous and detail oriented in making that possible, and then making it possible to have an under budget portion that we can then direct to other school safety projects within the district, which school safety projects were considered as part of the original bond package. So I'm grateful to be able to expand some of those light items and continue the school safety focus that was in that original bond. So thank you to you both, and kudos to our partners at the school facilities board.
Very well said, Ms. Tippett. Any other comments or questions? I think,
I would
please.
just say, I guess I'm just mirroring what she said, that you've done such a professional job across the spectrum, being innovative, developing strong relationships and partnerships to bring it home and be fiscally responsible, but get a facility second to none for our school district. So outstanding work to you both.
Could you let us know what year the budget for Saguaro Creek was conceptualized for the bond? When we asked the community for bond dollars, and so estimated what the cost of construction would be at that time, what year was that?
That would have been 2017, 18. Yeah. The bond was approved in November 2018. And we sold the first bond funds for this project in 24, so a 6-year window.
And
To add on that, and Mr. Wood, correct me if I'm wrong, we were running the same kind of wall structure, kind of physical structure of the building, which is the most expensive roofing structures, were very similar to those that are used at Micah Mountain, and the overall project cost was about $100 a square foot higher, just simply due to cost increases. So I just make that statement because things are not getting cheaper. They're between labor costs and materials costs, there's significant increase. So one of the reasons we wanted to go at that time period was we knew about 6 years out from the bond funds, we were going to start losing value of those bond dollars.
I just wanted to highlight just the kind of remarkable feat it is to come in under budget when we were in a period of really hyperinflation. And that just takes a lot of effort on your part, on the contractor's part, and working with the school facilities board. So it's really shocking, actually.
And some luck. I mean, there was some bid market luck, and I cannot underestimate the quality of the team that we had and our ability to work together to find solutions. It was a team. There are often criticisms about school districts doing a contractor management CM at risk proposal versus a hard bid. CM at risk with contractors that we have that we know that are living in this community, man, we were just able to go and problem solve things in ways that and do long leads on things like, electrical gear, buying that a year out, knowing what kind of wall systems that saved money when in the hyperinflation time period when others were not. Then if we'd gone hard bid route, we would have not had the ability to do those things.
Takes vision with intentionality. That's outstanding.
Well, and trust, frankly, to be able to do something that some people would say could cost you money. It clearly saved us money to go through that process.
I don't know that I could add too much to what's already been said, but except thank you. You guys have both done an exceptional job, and it's our students, our staff, and our taxpayers that are benefiting from it. So thank you both for your hard work. Pretty incredible, actually. There's no other comments or questions. Then we'll go to our last item, adjournment. So was it we adjourn at 9:13 p.m.? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Mr. King and Mr. Buster, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Not seeing